"120 people from Hong Kong applied to join the national space program." The government could require more people in public services to take the oath of allegiance to the Basic Law. Controversy over whether the British Prime Minister and King should attend the Global Climate Summit. Good evening and welcome. The government had received 120 applications for the job of payload specialist in China's manned space program by the deadline on Thursday. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry Sun Dong said the response was warm and most came from various spheres of technology. Christy Kant has more.
Beijing had earlier announced that for the first time it was recruiting payload specialists for its manned space program from Hong Kong and Macau. After the 3-week local application period, the government said 120 applications from different sectors were received. 40% of the applicants are women. Of the 120 applicants, 50 of them are from local universities. 22 applicants are from government-funded research institutes or the Hong Kong Productivity Council. 8 are from enterprises at Cyberport or Science Park. 28 applicants are from government departments and hospital authority. The rest come from other research institutes or companies. Secretary for Innovation, Technology and Industry Sun Dong said the applicants are professionals in different fields, including physics, chemistry, psychology, astronomy, and so on. Candidates who had signed up for the national program will have to undergo the next stage of screening. This includes an assessment of psychological and physical fitness. The Hong Kong SAR government earlier had said it expected at least one Hong Kong resident to be shortlisted for the program. Christy Khan, TVB News.
Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Tsang said today those holding key positions in statutory organizations and public services may also need to swear allegiance to the SAR.
In the latest policy address, it was suggested that oath-taking arrangements to uphold the Basic Law and Pledge of Allegiance to the SAR for public office holders should be extended to other areas. Speaking on a radio program today, Secretary for Constitutional and Mainland Affairs Eric Tsang said authorities are reviewing the policy. He added the most important thing is to comply with the principle of patriots ruling Hong Kong. Tsang said one of the considerations is to include people who could administer Hong Kong or hold important positions in public services into the scope of the oath-taking policy. According to current laws, public transport companies, tertiary institutions and public hospitals are public organizations. If positions that involve public funds must be subject to oath-taking, then that may include teaching staff members at government and aided schools. Tsang said his team is working on the proposal and will report to LegCo later on. During 2016, several elected lawmakers took their oaths of office improperly. That prompted an interpretation of the Basic Law by the National People's Congress, which ensured that public offices must properly swear in. Subsequently, 6 people were disqualified. Authorities later amended laws and required all key government officials, executive councillors, lawmakers and judiciary officers to swear allegiance to the SAR and the Basic Law. The policy was then extended to civil servants, government employees and district councillors. Many district councillors resigned and 50 others were disqualified for improper oath-taking. Over 300 seats were then vacated.
Hong Kong reported 5,383 new COVID infections today, slightly lower than yesterday. 372 of today's infections were imported. Among the imported cases, there were more than 15 cases carrying mutant strains. 3 residents of 2 residential care homes for the elderly had come down with COVID. 8 other residents who were identified as close contacts had to undergo quarantine. 3 more schools had to suspend in-person classes for a week. 8 more COVID patients died, bringing the city's death toll in the 5th wave of the pandemic to 10,160. The customs seized suspected liquid methamphetamine with an estimated market value of about $1.1 billion, marking the city's largest bust of its kind. The customs, through intelligence, inspected a seaborne consignment declared as carrying coconut water arriving in Hong Kong from South America last Sunday. Officers then found that 150 boxes of coconut water had suspected liquid meth concealed inside. The total weight was about 1.8 tons. This batch of drugs was scheduled to be transferred to Australia a week after arriving in Hong Kong. Customs believe this is linked to a huge multinational drug syndicate. Tropical cyclone Nalgae is expected to enter the central part of the South China Sea. The observatory will consider issuing the standby signal number 1 tomorrow night or Monday morning. According to the forecast track, Nalgae will take a more northerly track and will come within 800 kilometers of Hong Kong on Sunday night. Under the combined effect of Nalgae and the northeast monsoon, it will be windy over the territory early to midweek next week. In the Philippines, Manila and nearby towns braced on Saturday for tropical storm Nalgae. The storm has already killed 45 people, mostly due to landslides in the country's southern provinces. The death toll was reduced from 72 to 45 by the country's disaster agency after checking with rescue workers on those missing. Swollen rivers overflowed into surrounding areas and flooded roads. The tropical storm has maximum sustained winds of 95 kilometers an hour and gusts of up to 130 kilometers per hour. It made landfall in the eastern Philippines on Saturday. The White House has announced U.S. President Joe Biden will travel to Egypt to participate in the COP27 United Nations Climate Summit on November 11th. But British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak said he will not attend the climate summit due to pressing domestic commitments. Neither will King Charles. Tracy Furness reports.
British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak defended his decision not to attend the COP27 United Nations Climate Conference next month by insisting he is preparing an emergency budget due on November 17th. But he said it does not reflect a downgrade in the government's commitment to combating climate change.
I'm really proud, as everyone should be, about our record on tackling climate change, and particularly with regard to COP. We're one of the countries that has decarbonised the fastest. We now get over half our energy from zero-carbon sources. We passed a landmark law to protect the environment.
Leader of the British opposition Labour Party, Keir Starmer, accused Sunak of absolute failure of leadership for deciding not to go to the summit.
The Prime Minister should be going to COP. He needs to show leadership. This is a hugely important issue, climate change. It's wound together with the energy crisis, and I think many people would be expecting the Prime Minister of the UK not just to attend COP, but to use it as an opportunity to pull world leaders together to deal with climate and to deal with energy.
King Charles, a long-time supporter for combating climate change, has previously attended the summit. But he has been told not to go this year by both the previous Prime Minister Liz Truss and Rishi Sunak. Washington's Special Climate Envoy John Kerry said the British monarch's credibility on environmental issues would make a difference, and it would be very powerful if King Charles attended the COP27 summit. Officials from almost 200 countries will gather in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt this year, starting November 6. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
State Councillor and Foreign Minister Wang Yi said he expected Beijing and Washington to develop a stable relationship during a meeting with the new U.S. ambassador to China. In his meeting with Nicholas Burns on Friday in Beijing, Wang said China-U.S. relations are at a critical juncture, according to a statement by China's Foreign Ministry. He added that Burns could become the bridge and link between the two countries. Wang also briefed Burns on the major achievements during last week's 20th Communist Party of China National Congress. Wang, a member of the political bureau of the party's Central Committee, said the two countries should respect each other and coexist peacefully, and urged the U.S. to stop trying to suppress and contain China's development. Burns said the United States was willing to strengthen communications with China, manage differences and advance cooperation. Still ahead on tonight's news. Nancy Pelosi's husband is attacked by intruder at home. Strive and Rise program that helps young people is launched today. And a look at some challenges ethnic minorities face even if they are born locally. Welcome back to TVB News. The husband of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the 82-year-old Paul Pelosi, has been attacked by an intruder at the couple's home in San Francisco. The intruder allegedly hit him multiple times with a hammer. Nancy Pelosi was in Washington at the time of the attack, but has rushed to San Francisco to be by his side. Nazvi Karim reports.
Where is Nancy? Where is Nancy? These are the words used by the intruder when he confronted Paul Pelosi, the husband of U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, inside their San Francisco house. Almost the same words uttered by a member of the mob who attacked the Capitol building on January 6, 2021. Paul Pelosi suffered skull fracture and serious injuries to his right arm and hands after he was allegedly attacked with a hammer by 42-year-old David DePape. DePape, reportedly taken down by police and who is now in hospital, smashed a glass door to gain entry into the house, asking for the speaker by name. The 82-year-old Paul Pelosi, who was home alone, underwent surgery and doctors expect him to make a full recovery. DePape is expected to be charged with attempted murder, elder abuse and burglary. The attack comes just 11 days before congressional elections. Washington's elite rallied to give their support to the Pelosis.
This is despicable. There's no place in America. There's too much violence, political violence, too much hatred, too much vitriol. Knowing Paul and Nancy and the families I do, they're tough as they come, but we're praying for them.
At a rally in Atlanta, Georgia, former President Barack Obama paused to mention the Pelosi attack.
And I want to take a moment just to say a prayer for a friend of mine, Mr. Paul Pelosi, who was attacked. A politics where some in office or who aspire to office work to stir up division, to make folks as angry and as afraid of one another for their own advantage.
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell tweeted he was horrified and disgusted by the assault. Speaker Pelosi has arrived in San Francisco and went straight from the airport to Zuckerberg General Hospital in a motorcade. As Speaker, Nancy Pelosi is second in line of succession to the president and is often mocked by Republicans in campaign ads. Paul Pelosi is a wealthy investor. They've been married for 59 years. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
The attack on Paul Pelosi is just the latest in a number of politically motivated attacks against high-profile figures in the U.S. This report from NBC.
Tonight, while police say they do not yet know the motive behind the brutal attack on Paul Pelosi, it comes amid alarming concerns about the tense political climate. In just the first 3 months of this year, the U.S. Capitol Police Threat Assessment Team opened more than 1,800 new cases, and the department reporting threats against members of Congress surging 144% from 2017 to 2021. While today, a Pennsylvania man pleaded guilty to threatening to kill Democratic Congressman Eric Swalwell. And after a stranger smashed a window at her house, Republican Senator Susan Collins saying last month, "I wouldn't be surprised if a senator or House member were killed." On the campaign trail last month, an armed man rushed the stage. attacking Republican Congressman and candidate for New York Governor Lee Zeldin. And it's not just elected officials. In June, a California man armed with a handgun, a knife, and burglary tools was arrested outside the house of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. The man telling police he was upset over the possibility of the court overturning Roe v. Wade. He was charged with attempted murder. And all of it coming after the horrors of January 6th, where some in the violent mob were calling out Speaker Pelosi's name.
Nancy! Where are you, Nancy?
Some going inside her office. Political violence has been a growing concern in recent history. But law enforcement experts say this moment is different.
The political demonization of anyone who thinks differently than you has now gotten to the point of actioning violence. We've got to bring that to an end before it brings us all to an end.
In India Saturday, Britain's Foreign Minister James Cleverly said that his country is funding new counter-drone technologies. He is pushing tech giants to crack down on extremist content as part of a push to keep new and emerging technologies out of militant hands.
And we are funding new counter-drone technologies. And we're working through the Global Counter-Terrorism Forum to ensure that we do more to stop terrorists from misusing drones.
He added that Britain was working with the G7 and Global Internet Forum to pressure internet giants to crack down even harder on extremist content online. Back locally, following yesterday's fatal accident when a 64-year-old man was killed by a fallen tree, the government decided to inspect the other trees in the Ngtung Chai village in Taipo today. Lands Department staff and contractors arrived in the village this morning to inspect the trees. They also removed those trees deemed to have a high risk of collapsing. The Lands Department said it is very dissatisfied with the contractor's performance as it failed to promptly remove the tree, which had a high risk of collapsing following its inspection on August 29th. The government officially launched its Strive and Rise program today, aiming to help underprivileged students broaden their horizons and achieve their personal development plans.
亦都為我哋今次共創明天計劃打氣啊！
The scheme received 2,800 applications from secondary schools, 40% more than the authorities' proposed target. The program has raised around $140 million with support from more than 120 enterprises and organizations. In the scheme, participants will receive $5,000 for achieving their personal development plan and another $5,000 upon completion of the program. Hong Kong is a city of diversity where people of different backgrounds can work hard and blossom. However, for a non-Chinese brought up in the city, life can be challenging. As Christy Khan reports, some locally born Filipinos are often stereotyped as foreign domestic workers.
According to the Immigration Department, there were more than 200,000 Filipinos in Hong Kong as of July, most of them working as foreign domestic helpers. Among them, about 19,000 are Hong Kong permanent residents. Rhoda May Bargo is a 24-year-old motion graphic designer. She's a Filipino born and raised in Hong Kong. However, growing up in this city has not been easy.
I think it's pretty interesting because I'm not really 100% a Hong Konger, but because I'm brought up here, I'm also not 100% a Filipino. So you kind of get to see the best of both worlds and also the worst.
The first time Rhoda realized the huge difference between her and locals was when she started her university studies. Before that, when she was still a teenager, there were also some minor incidents that would upset her.
Oh, I'm only like 15 years old and you're already thinking of me as just a domestic helper. I feel like people need to open up their minds that Filipinos can be more than just a domestic helper. We don't want to be stereotyped as just one thing. And even domestic helpers, they're actually very educational.
The Consul General of the Philippines in Hong Kong, Raleigh Teada, is aware of this long-existing issue.
There is an impression that if you are not Chinese, you are a foreigner. This thing needs to be changed, and I think it will take time. If there's a better understanding, there will be a better cohesion, social cohesion in the community.
He adds that education is important as this can help reduce the distance between ethnic groups in the city.
Differences will be there, but if there's an understanding that differences are normal and natural, then I think that will create a better atmosphere of understanding between the two sides.
From the perspective of a locally born and raised Filipino, Rhoda believes there's no difference between Filipino and Chinese.
I think we're all the same type of people and we just want to get to know each other. So step out of the comfort zone and reach out to us. We don't bite, we're normal people and we like to exchange cultures with each other.
She hopes the cultural barrier between the two groups can be eliminated one day. Christy Khan, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching.